$500 million of your tax money is going to fund what exactly? Well, today, the executives of NPR and PBS were hauled before Congress to answer that very question. What Americans witnessed was absolutely astounding. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene methodically exposed how these supposedly public broadcasters have become radical left-wing echo chambers catering almost exclusively to wealthy, white, urban liberals. Your hard-earned money is funding programming like genderqueer dinosaur enthusiasts and claims that civility is racist and doorways and seatbelts represent fat phobia. I'm not making this up. Meanwhile, Representative Jasmine Crockett had what can only be described as a profane meltdown defending these institutions, telling the room she was going to skip off right quick. Oh, and the Doge boys? They're hard at work. Check this out. Did you know this? That while PBS wastes your tax dollars on liberal propaganda, Chuck Norris is revealing the truth about staying fit into your 80s. Just as Congress is demanding accountability from media elites, Chuck is exposing what the health establishment doesn't want you to know. At 84, he's still kicking butt and working out with more energy than people half his age, all by targeting 3 things that sabotage our bodies as we age. His wife started following this method and now feels 10 years younger with a leaner body and all-day energy. While PBS shows genderqueer dinosaurs, Chuck shows you real results. So just watch the transformative video at chuckdefense.com/next. It's linked down below before the establishment shuts it down. Okay, I think we should start this segment with this beautiful moment here. A big black man was arrested after he was caught ramming his miniature four-wheeler into a Cybertruck. Okay. Again, these people are morons. They have no idea that these cars have cameras on them. And the Cybertruck is designed to be bulletproof. So he could run that weighted down four-wheeler into that Cybertruck all day long, and it's not going to dent anything. What an embarrassing act. And it was all caught on video. And he was arrested. Take a look at this. Tesla inventor, this is bad. Tesla investor Ross Gerber blaming Elon Musk for the wave of vandalism against Tesla vehicles, saying he's provoking attacks on his customers. This is a Tesla investor blaming Elon. What?
The federal government.
And of course, it's on CNN. It's on CNN.
What I'm curious to ask you about, Ross, is what Trump is doing about it. He has stepped into this. He has said that there should be very grave consequences, his exact words, for anyone who vandalizes a Tesla, that he's put an FBI task force to crack down on the attacks. Look, vandalism is a horrible thing. I wonder, though, what you think about Trump getting involved, the federal government getting involved in this.
Well, I think that certainly Trump's trying to help Elon, and I don't think it actually helps Tesla to have the government make such a big deal about it, because it just makes it seem like it's an even bigger problem, right? That we have to have like an FBI task force on this. So it's bad enough that people are vandalizing, you know, basically innocent consumers for choosing a vehicle that is great for the environment because the CEO is so divisive. It's really a shame, and I've never seen this in business history where the CEO doesn't accept the damage he's doing to his own company and his own customers, who, once again, are innocent victims of these attacks. You know, and he just doesn't seem to take any responsibility that his actions have anything to do with it, or making any, you know, concessions to try to mitigate the attacks, and instead, in a lot of ways, I think, provoking it.
Provoking it. Elon Musk is provoking it because he's investigating government waste, fraud, and abuse. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Here we have Kelly Loeffler. Fraudsters have stolen billions from U.S. taxpayers, and the SBA taking action after the Biden administration looked the other way. Thanks to DOGE and the Trump administration, we now have manpower and the mandate to hold the criminals accountable. That is a Newsmax clip. We don't play Newsmax on this site. The Elon derangement syndrome can end because of 3 things. He can't run for president. He just wants to live the American dream and build rockets and cars. He wants to help fix the government so they actually work for the people. And now, death threats for DOGE. Here's Gregg Gutfeld.
Has democratized death.
Greg, how many death threats did you get in the last commercial break?
433.
Yeah, you've gotten a lot.
You know, the internet has democratized death threats. I blame Al Gore. But you know, for Musk, the abrupt shift from savior to Satan reveals that for many Democrats, most, it's a life lived in theater. You know, the issue itself, climate change, was merely a stage to perform. And a great example is, what's her name? Greta T., who quickly saw the show was kind of fading and she jumped onto the pro-Hamas role. That's a new role for her acting credits. But I mean, how many liberals bought Teslas as a performative act, only to find other liberals vandalizing them as a performative act? No wonder Republicans are setting up, you know, register to vote booths at Tesla dealerships. It's a great idea. But again, it's like, what is the aim here? And I think that climate activism was the aim in itself, you know, to accrue billions, perhaps even trillions of dollars from taxpayers without really any goal in sight. The goal was amorphous and far away enough so you could rake in billions for charging stations, but never actually put them in, or billions for high-speed rail, but actually never build it. The chief aim is actually just making the money. I can't think, you know, on the Democrat side, a single issue where their public persona and their private behavior align. You know, definitely not on the border, because they all have doors and they all have locks on their doors and locks on their windows. Many of them live in gated communities. So it's not the border. They hate school choice, but man, they send a lot of their kids to private. You know, they believe in climate change, but they'll take that jet to Davos or Aspen. They love this stuff as long as it doesn't apply to them.
Greg, how many death threats did you get in the last commercial?
So true. Gregg Gutfeld always hits the nail right on the head. Let's keep going here. Elon Musk posting interesting, quote tweeting Representative Andy Ogles. Federal Judge Theodore Chuang, a career Democrat operative, is obstructing President Trump and protecting USAID's spending. Congress must hold him accountable. Here is the case for impeachment. Judge Chuang, Maryland Federal District Court, is mandating President Trump and DOGE defy the American people's mandate by propping up USAID. This is the same USAID blowing $2 million on Guatemalan sex changes, $1.5 million in DEI in Serbia. So let's be clear, unelected district judges have zero constitutional authority to dictate terms to a duly elected president on executive action. Chuang's ruling is a blatant power grab, plain and simple. No surprise here. Judge Chuang's history is steeped in Democrat activism from 92 to 94. As editor of Harvard Law Review, he championed articles pushing critical race theory, affirmative action, and a Marxist spin on America's foundations. And take witness as property, whiteness as property, republished under Chuang's watch by Cheryl Harris, now at LA Reparations Advisory Committee. She argues seeing oneself as white assumes white supremacy. That's the radical ideology that he has elevated. So clearly this man is biased 100%, and all the pet programs that the left loves are getting cut. The programs that would have supported DEI and all of the gender ideology and the woke nonsense are being cut. These are the programs that he was a champion for. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene discussing PBS-funded documentaries as part of your programming.
Forward to that too. I remind you, you're under oath, and violations of the Communications Act comes with a fine up to $10,000 and possibly up to a year in prison. Does PBS air for-profit commercials, Ms. Kruger?
We air underwriting announcements, and we believe we are in full compliance with the FCC, and we look forward to delivering the material required in this part of this investigation.
We look forward to that too. I'm assuming you're concerned, both of you are concerned about this, and that's why you brought so many attorneys with you today. Ms. Kruger, using taxpayer subsidies, PBS funded Independent Lens to make documentaries for part of your programming. In 2016, Real Boy was aired about a trans teen navigating adolescent sobriety and the ramification of his gender identity. In 2022, the same series aired Our League, in which a trans woman comes to her old school Ohio bowling league in a story about transition. Then in 2024, A Racist Trees was aired, telling a story of how in Palm Springs, a black neighborhood fights to remove a divisive wall of trees. Do you think PBS needs to fund ridiculous material such as this that the taxpayers are having to pay for?
These are documentary films that are point of view pieces that are part of our primetime schedule for adults.
I remind you, you're under oath. And
it's for adults, she says. Okay, that's their excuse. Libercrat posting, I don't see how we lose another election for a very long time. Yeah, these are the morons.
Hey, don't with me.
Fuck Elon Musk! Are you gonna go home and jerk off to this replay?
Fuck
Are you excited about it?
Fuck
Elon Musk!
Wow, okay, you get the point here. What? I hope this goes viral. Let's help him.
Clearance for Elon Musk does have a security clearance. He has a top secret security clearance for, by God, he makes the rockets for NASA. But the suggestion that he somehow can't be trusted to dig into how we're spending our money is nothing but a smokescreen to hide the corruption and the wasteful spending that has occurred there. And I am personally offended at the left's continued references to 19-year-olds and 21-year-olds in there doing work. There are 19-year-olds who have won the Medal of Honor defending this country. Just because you're 19 doesn't mean you're some child who can't be trusted. It is offensive. And if you're 19 years old out there, 20 years old, and you're serving this country, by God, your service matters. Keep serving. We thank you for that.
Wow.
Elon Musk.
Powerful words right there. Let's keep going. We've got Colin Rugg here. Jasmine Crockett has a profane meltdown while defending NPR and PBS. Tells the room she's going to skip off real quick.
Channel 8, Americans in rural communities would lack access to life-saving information and public safety alerts.
That is correct.
So in your opinion, would eliminating funding for stations in rural America like WNGH, Channel 18, and the Chairwoman's District hurt Americans?
It would hurt Americans, yes.
In fact, Georgia Public Broadcasting serves as the official distributor of evacuation route information during state-ordered evacuations, and the chairwoman is here advocating to strip their funding. Look, the DOGE agenda isn't about government efficiency. It's about breeding corruption at the expense of the safety of the American people, particularly Americans living in rural or remote parts of the country. They don't care about public safety. They don't care about emergency management, and they don't care about free speech, all of which are harming American people. In fact, I'm going to skip off real quick because they have tried to come for you, Ms. Maher, and I just want to clarify, you did not work for NPR when those statements were made, did you?
That is correct, Madam
And to be clear, free speech is not about whatever it is that y'all want somebody to say. And the idea that you want to shut down everybody that is not Fox News is bullshit. We need to stop playing because that's what y'all are doing in here. You don't want to hear the opinions of anybody else. And the Constitution says Congress shall make no law respecting or establishing of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the
gentlewoman's time has expired.
Press.
The gentlewoman's time has expired.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, keep going. Keep going. You're going to skip off. You certainly did. Here we have more from Marjorie Taylor Greene torching an NPR and PBS executive.
Media posts reflect left-wing ideology and blatant opposition to free speech. After all, you were the head of Wikipedia for many years, which is a platform that doesn't tell the truth. Let's walk through some of your statements so the public can understand your personal views. You said your fellow Americans just elected Donald Trump as president again this past November. You called him a deranged racist and sociopath. You posted on X that America is addicted to white supremacy. It's appalling. You've publicly chastised using the phrase boy and girl, which you said erases the language for non-binary people. There's only two genders, by the way. Ms. Maher, the federal funding that your outlet receives comes from all American taxpayer dollars, not just from your viewers who support such statements as these. Let me inform you, and that your federal funding is also paid for by the other half of the country. the 77 million Americans who voted for President Trump, someone you called a deranged, racist sociopath. Ms. Maher, many find your pro-censorship and anti-free speech views more concerning than your politics. The only speech you like seems to be speech that you agree with. In 2021, you called the First Amendment the #1 challenge in American journalism because it makes it hard to crack down on bad information. You said in a TED Talk that our reverence for the truth might be a distraction. You've also expressed support for deplatforming individuals you view as fascist. Who do you think should be charged with cracking down on so-called bad information? Is it NPR? Is it the government? Is it you, Ms. Maher?
Congresswoman, Madam Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity to address this. I know.
Do you is it up to you and NPR to crack down on bad information or decide the truth? Answer the question, yes or no, Ms. Maher.
Absolutely not. I'm a very strong believer in free speech, and I believe that more speech.
Your public statements say otherwise. Ms. Maher, in 2021, when speaking at an Atlantic Council event, you said that when you were CEO of Wikipedia, you took a very active approach to disinformation and misinformation. During the COVID pandemic and the 2020 election, you said you censored information through conversations with government. Which governments were those, Ms. Maher? The Biden administration, yes or no?
Madam Chair, Wikipedia never censored any information.
These are your public statements, Ms. Maher. Ms. Maher, are you familiar with Section 399B of the Communications Act? It prohibits non-commercial education broadcast stations, NCEs, from airing commercials on behalf of for-profit entities. The FCC recently opened an investigation into the underwriting announcements and related policies of NPR and PBS. Does NPR air commercials for for-profit entities, Ms. Maher? Yes or no?
Madam Chair, we are in full compliance with the FCC's inquiry and will continue to cooperate.
I remind you, you're under oath, and violations of the Communications Act comes with a fine up to $10,000 and possibly up to a year in prison. Does PBS air for-profit commercials, Ms. Kruger?
We air underwriting announcements, and we believe we are in full compliance with the FCC, and we look forward to delivering the material required in this part of this investigation.
We look forward to that, too. I'm assuming you're concerned, both of you are concerned about this, and that's why you brought so many attorneys with you today. Ms. Kruger, using taxpayer subsidies, PBS funded Independent Lens to make documentaries for part of your programming. In 2016, Real Boy was aired about a trans teen navigating adolescent sobriety and the ramification of his gender identity. In 2022, the same series aired Our League, in which a trans woman comes to her old school Ohio bowling league in a story about transition. Then in
Oh man, she does not hold back. She does not hold back at all. And this is the kind of grilling that these people need. Here's more. Kazine Azadu, if you don't like Trump's plan to cut the deficit, what's your alternative plan? Boom.
Engaging with government. If people want to say that there's an oligarchy now, I would say that there's always been an oligarchy. We're just seeing one of the billionaires transparently engaging with government, which I actually find personally refreshing, that at least I know who it is this time and I can examine from first principles, do I like what he's doing or not? They want to raise $1 trillion to cut the deficit by tariffs, this Trump gold card, and reshoring manufacturing in the United States. They want to remove $1 trillion of spending through DOGE, and that's overall their plan to get the deficit intact, to make sure that we're not entering this situation where all social services and healthcare are going to be cut for everyone. So if people don't like that plan, on this panel, I would like to hear the alternative plan, because for the last 25 years, we've tried the bureaucratic means. We've tried working within the system. We have not made progress. If people want to say that...
Dude, common sense right there, man. Common sense. Let's keep going. We've got some more on the PBS meltdown. Here's Jesse Waters talking about it today, just a few minutes ago.
Cut, $600,000 to stop trans boys from getting pregnant. Thank God. And $150,000 for climate change activities in Peru. That sounds a lot like cover for paying off a politician's Peruvian mistress. Back on planet Earth, Trump has bigger targets.
Would you be interested in defunding and taking away taxpayer dollars to NPR and PBS?
Well, I would love to do that. I think it's very unfair. It's been very biased, the whole group. I mean, a whole group of them.
As luck would have it, the House DOGE Committee welcomed the presidents of NPR and PBS for a hearing today.
You called him a deranged racist and sociopath. You posted on X that America is addicted to white supremacy. It's appalling. You've publicly chastised.
Okay, let's keep going. Check this out. Marjorie Taylor Greene slams PBS for airing children's content that featured a drag queen.
The room. I want you to know I grew up watching children's programming on PBS. And as a mother who raised 3 children, I felt confident that I could leave the room while my own children were watching children's programming on PBS. But I can tell you right now, Ms. Kruger, specifically, as a mother, if I had walked in my living room or one of my children's bedrooms and seen this child predator and this monster targeting my children, I would become unglued. And that is how most parents feel all over this country. I want you to know.
Wow. That's what's airing on PBS. Gunter Eagleman says this is by far the best segment you will see today. Representative Brandon Gill demolished this lady with receipts of her own statements. The media will never show this, so let's help him make it viral.
Expressed by your Miss Maher, I want to start with you. Just generally, would you say you generally agree or disagree with the following statement? The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles.
I would not say I agree with that, sir.
You're not. That's good to hear. It's interesting because a lot of your thinking, as expressed by your public statements, is deeply infused with economic and cultural Marxism. Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. How white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I have never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone to pay reparations.
Seems to be what you're suggesting. Do you believe that looting is morally wrong?
I believe that looting is illegal, and I refer to it as counterproductive. I think it should be prosecuted.
Do you believe it's morally wrong, though?
Of course.
Of course. Then why did you refer to it as counterproductive? It's a very different way to describe it.
It is both morally wrong and counterproductive, as well as being illegal.
You tweeted, it's hard to be mad about protests in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my time at NPR.
You tweeted that you read that book, but...
I don't believe that I did read that book, sir.
Miss Maher, I want to start with you.
Oh, dude, that was brutal. But you know what was equally as brutal? Oh, yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene demolishing a foreign reporter today. Check this out.
We have a major... Yep. Anybody else?
Should the defense secretary...
What country are you... Wait, what country are you from?
From the UK.
Okay, we don't give a crap about your opinion and your reporting. Why don't you go back to your country where you have a major migrant problem?
Okay,
and you... No. You should care about your own borders.
Do you care about American lives being put at risk?
Let me tell you something. Do you care about people from your country? What about all the women that are raped by migrants?
Do you care
No,
about...
by migrants. No, do you care? Okay, you're done.
Do you care about American lives being put at risk?
You know what? I don't care.
Service members fighting for your country.
I don't care about your fake news. Do you have a relevant question? Yeah, this is an American journalist. Thank you. Yeah. Anybody else?
Should the defense secretary...
Oh, man. Here she is, the DOGE subcommittee posting. It's time to hold the heads of NPR and PBS accountable for the use of taxpayer funds. Should Americans be spending $500 million on left-wing propaganda?
Why should you?
NPR and PBS have been wasting taxpayer funds.
Americans should not have to pay to spread far left-wing propaganda.
Or to silence important stories like Hunter Biden's laptop. Why should you pay for Democrat talking points disguised as news? Are their services really worth $500 million?
These CEOs must be held accountable for how they spend federal funds.
They need to do it on their own if they're going to run down our country.
On Wednesday at 10 a.m., we will demand answers and have these CEOs explain why they think they deserve your money. NPR and...
Oh, man, they all got roasted in that hearing. So when asked whether PBS funding should take priority over Social Security, the CEO couldn't give a straight answer. When confronted about their rapidly progressive history, PBS CEO Catherine Maher stammered through non-responses. The truth, though, is undeniable. These networks have abandoned their mission of serving all Americans and instead cater to a narrow ideological agenda. NPR treats Elon Musk differently than Democrats making identical gestures. PBS promotes gender ideology to children while claiming to be neutral. So here's the question nobody in the mainstream media will ask. Why should hardworking Americans in rural communities be forced to fund propaganda that openly mocks their values and way of life? Drop a comment. And support the movement for real news, not the fake stuff you see on NPR, with our exclusive Next News swag, hat, t-shirt, mug, Mag Avengers gear. Join the club at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.